been, for a few years, and I've been learning a lot from him. But learning process never stops. So I'm ready to go deep into this very important subject and hopefully hear some new things. And I'm hoping that all of you guys can enjoy it and can take something useful for yourself. Obviously, detoxification, nutrition are some of the most essential elements of health, wellness, well-being. I've been personally paying a lot of attention to that in the last decade of my life, not just solely for the performance purposes, but also for my overall health and well-being. And I came across some amazing discoveries in that process of I've tried many different things, and I have developed my own, so to say, routine and my own program that fits me well individually. And obviously this is a great opportunity for Shervin and I to have a conversation about these topics, and hopefully you guys can have something interesting to take away from this conversation. And then of course I'll be together with Shervin answering your questions at the end of our conversation, end of our live. So please bear with us. We are going to try to go and simplify everything, to go very clean and very concise, very concrete information on some of the fundamental metabolic functions and processes, and why detoxification is important. Why is it important to know how our body functions, how it works, what is happening on different parts of day and night. Every organ has its time of peak function. So all these things we're going to talk about, and I feel self-awareness is a first step, and having a right intention of really wanting to understand yourself and your own body on deeper levels, and then of course trying to implement the knowledge that you acquire on your daily basis, and continue to research and continue to develop your own individual program that will fit you nicely, and hopefully be able to live a healthier life every single day. So, Niall, he's here. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. Haven't seen him in a while, and we go back a few years. He's an amazing guy, and congrats for all your success, man. It's fantastic to see you shine on the stage and share wonderful music with everyone. And he's not too bad in golf as well. Tennis he needs to work on. But let's invite Shervin inside of this chat. Please send me a message so I can get you in, and we can start this live. And as we've done in the previous lives, I'm gonna turn off the comments so we could focus on the conversation. But please do ask questions so that I could go back to those questions, refer to them later on, and then we could obviously have interaction with you guys and answer some of your questions. So I'm just waiting for him to join. Thanks, Niall. Thanks for your message. Miss you too, man. Hope to see you very soon. There he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Aho, brother.
Aho, my dear brother.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man. How are you?
The master is in the house.
Yeah. What a time to be alive, man.
It's great.
It's a miracle.
Great. Every day brings something new, and there's always something to learn. There's always something to reflect on, and I think we've spoken about this in our last live, but I'm really blessed and also grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you and to many other amazing people that have invaluable knowledge and experience that hopefully through my platform, I'll be able to share and, contribute to people's betterment of the people's lives and people's health. So, it's an honor to speak to you again, brother. Today we'll be going into the topics of detoxification and nutrition and some healthy daily routines and habits, and just trying to break down everything in a very simple way for people to understand. Why is it important to detoxify? Why is it important? First of all, I think, why is it important to care and learn about our health and how our body functions? So maybe you can start off with that, on maybe sharing with us, why is it important for us to really get to know ourselves on the deepest of levels, rather than just letting someone else tell us what is the right way to treat ourselves, to eat, to heal. I think the whole purpose of us talking and starting this self-mastery project is the self-mastery, is actually us learning and encouraging also ourselves first in this conversation, but also others consequently, to so that everyone can start really taking the matters of their own health in their own hands, doing the research, reading books, writing things down, starting to feel their body more, reflecting on themselves, and really getting in tune with their body. Because nowadays, with everything that is happening, we have bunch of informations on our body, what we should do or shouldn't do, how much we should sleep. There's hundreds of diets and programs and stuff. It's just, you can get easily discouraged and lost in this world. So where do we start, brother, when it comes to health in our body?
Well, that was a beautiful introduction. And again, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be speaking here with you, brother. These are conversations you and I have had privately for the last couple of years, and to be able to broadcast this to the world, to see you and I speak candidly together, is such a treat. It's such an honor, and it's such a pleasure. So everyone who's listening here today, I'm sending you all the love in the world and the deepest level of reverence from my heart. So I just wanted to say that first and foremost. And I think you're right. I think you hit it on the nail. We've basically been hit with so much information in this new technological age. It's hard to decide which direction to go. And we've fallen into a state of consciousness where we just hear one thing and we try it out without doing too much investigation. And then we jump to the next thing. And you and I have talked about this before. That's pretty much the center point of what discernment means, as opposed to really understanding what the material is, what the language is, and what the information means to you personally. That's how we're going to take our health, our wellness, our career, our level of mastery to the next level. And that's what this self-mastery project is all about. It's taking ownership of your life and not having someone else outside of you tell you how you should live, how you should feel, how you should experience, and how healthy you should be. And it's regaining that power through traditional, holistic, and also new science technologies. The evidence is there now. We're not alone in the woods. We are backed up by medical science today to understand how the human body works. And today's day, we've come to some kind of conclusion that there's so much pollutants in the world, there's so much toxins in the world, that detoxification is paramount, maybe even more above nutrition. And in order to understand how detoxification works, we have to understand the basic outline of how the human body works, not only just through food and water, but also our innate connection to our Mother Nature, and why it's now become popular to be outside and to be grounding to the earth, just like we were doing 100 years ago before the Industrial Revolution. So I think today, the main part of our discussion is just simple steps that people can do to start making an impact on their daily lives, and ultimately takes them further and further down the rabbit hole of understanding what true science is with their nutrition and true wellness. Ultimately, what my objective is and what my goal is, and it's the same for you, Novak, is we want to give people their power back. We want people to take ownership of their own lives, because then they become the doctors in their family and they start connecting that with all of the other family members. Before you know it, you have a spider web of nutrition and ideas and concepts. And again, take what we say with a grain of salt, do your own research. We are just the messenger. But ultimately, these are tried and tested philosophies that go back thousands and thousands of years ago. And now, understanding how the human anatomy works, we can really get to the core of how to live the best versions of ourselves every single day. So if you want, we can start getting into the basics of like an everyday, perspective, what the ritual looks like, what's the best way to go to sleep every night, what's the best way to wake up, things like that we take for granted every day. What kind of water should we be drinking? Things of that nature.
Yes, I think that is, by the way, beautiful way to explain what the intention and the goal here is for us in this project, in this particular conversation today, but also every next live we're going to do. And I feel like in my own world, in athletes' world, there's a lot of uncertainty and just I think too much power given away to someone else to tell you what you need to do with your own body. And of course, people go to study medicine, they go to study nutrition, they dedicate a big chunk of their lives in order to become experts and to be able to actually use their experience and their knowledge to help someone else. So it's a very noble thing, of course, and absolutely 100% support that. But I just feel that there should be some balance. There should be, athletes, particularly in my world, knowing more about themselves, because we as athletes are kind of, forced in a way, because that's the nature of our profession, to really be in that innate close relationship with our body, to understand the signals, the messages, the signs that our body sends us. So, but because sometimes of our mind taking the I would say control and power over our body, we just lose that connection. And all the things in the industrial age that you were referring to, with the distractions and the amount of information and the pollutants that we have in the water, in the air, in the food, we just we get clogged up, and there's so many layers that need to be eradicated in some way, in order for us to really establish the flow of that energy and the flow of the nutrients and the blood and the exchange of the chemistry inside. So I think maybe we can start, before we go into the what water to drink, or understanding and being aware of the air that we breathe, what the air is like in the cities, what the air is like in the nature and so forth, and the food. Let's maybe start with the detoxification and what is detoxification?
What does that even mean? Okay, yeah.
Exactly. And how is body's natural ability to detoxificate is, are we causing hindrance to our body? Are we helping the body? And is it really possible to detoxify from all these years of being polluted?
Yeah. Okay. Well, everything you just said was perfect and crystal clear and beautifully said. We're in a situation right now where, we're being introduced to hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of man-made compounds and manufactured chemicals that are in our water supply, that are in our food supply, that are in the air, that are in our clothes. We've never been assaulted at this level when it comes to, the petrochemical companies and the big manufacturing companies that are designing all these things. So we're now in this state of affairs where we're seeing so many new chronic diseases, so many different forms of illnesses. Now you hear the word autoimmune issues. I can't tell you how many times I receive messages every day from mothers, from fathers, from kids talking about themselves or someone that has some form of, fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome or some type of co-infection or lupus, blood disorders, anything that falls under the autoimmune bug. What does autoimmune mean? Autoimmune means basically your body's inflammation center has gone over hyperactive and it can't shut down. Well, why is that happening? Well, what's happening is that we're having cellular discommunication in the body, and it's being confused because of the pathogens, the viruses, and the chemicals, and it's not letting the body's innate ability to repair itself come to fruition. And when that happens, so just to rewind, inflammation has been given a bad name, and we have different forms of inflammation factors in our body, different, factors, different levels. There's IL-1, IL-6, tumor necrotic factor. These are body's ability to repair when there's a problem. Just like if you hit your elbow on the side of a wall or you get stung by a bee or something like that, the reason why it gets swollen is because your body's sending signals to that area to repair it. So you have white blood cells, growth factors, repair cells to get there and to cause some type of repair and regeneration of that area, which is a good thing. That's a good sign of inflammation. Just like getting the flu and having your body temperature raise is your body's innate ability to repair and to fix. This is our immunological response system. The problem is that when that system start getting there's too much inflammation going on in the body and the body does not know how to turn it off. That's when you get runaway inflammation. And if your body is filled with petrochemicals, toxins, metabolic waste, and the pathways haven't opened up in your body to release these, that's when you start getting into higher levels of sickness, and then you start entering a disease state. And in our lifetime, we have two spans of life. We have a health span, and then we have a disease span. That's the science. That is the actual literature of how this body and physical body works. So what we want to do is we want to stay away from that disease span. And this whole notion that, we're being told that at a certain age you get sick and you're supposed to just expect that is ludicrous to me. It's ridiculous and it's sad and it makes me frustrated and angry. And so we can be avoiding that. I know people that are in their 80s and 90s and they look like they're in their, early 50s. I'm sure you do too. And I know people that are in their 50s and they look like they're 80 years old, and it's a combination of just their lifestyle and the way that they go about their daily lives.
Yes.
So in terms of detoxification, I think the first and foremost thing is immediately when people hear detox, they think of juice fasting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, drinking green juice and stuff like that, which is great. It's awesome. But the reason why a lot of people have failure when it comes to those kinds of things is because they immediately introduce a high amount of nutrition to the body, and the body does not have the ability to remove the toxins that are being, basically conjured up by the juice fasting because their pathways are blocked. What does that mean? That means we have a system in our body called the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is our body's drainage system. We have lymph nodes that go from the top of our head to the bottom of our toes. And the pump that pushes the lymphatic system are our kidneys. And on top of those kidneys are our adrenal glands. Now, everybody's heard of adrenals. That's become a popular term. Your adrenal system, your body's ability to turn hormones on and turn hormones off, your body's ability to give you energy and to not give you energy. Well, we got to make sure that our adrenal system and our kidneys are functioning properly in order to be able to pump out the toxins that we've built up over a lifetime. That is the most important aspect of detoxification. And detoxification comes in a number of ways. It can come out of our skin, right? Which is why we like going into infrared saunas, why we like pushing sweat out and metabolic waste and stuff like that. And, we have a major lymphatic system that comes in our armpit area. And if anyone's listening to us right now, and if you've been using deodorant your entire life or antiperspirant, please go look at the ingredients. 99% of all deodorants that's sold on the open market today contain aluminum sulfates in it. They use aluminum to block the pores that's right outside of your lymph node. Now, that's one of the most harmful things to do across the board for both men and women. And you know that there was a great increase in women's breast cancer when their main adrenal gland is right there in the armpit, and that's attached to the mammary gland. And that's a main access point of detoxification. So if anyone's using deodorant, please stop and look for other substitutes out there like clay, like charcoal deodorants. There's a lot of them on the open market right now. And so we need to be able to push the toxins out of our body. And there's simple ways that we can do that. And we also, we detox out of our breath. That's another way. And we've seem to have forgotten that the breath is one of the main ways to detoxify the body. And that's why it's so important to start figuring out a new form of breath practice. We want you to be doing breath work every single day and to be engaged in your breath. Most of us forget to even breathe. We're just taking little skip breaths, and we're doing about 100 of those a minute. When the divine way of doing it, the ancient practice way, is like 4 or 5 breaths a minute. Now, again, I'm not saying for you to go all the way into that, but start thinking about these things. Wow, the breath takes carbon dioxide and other toxins that have built up in the body, methane and other things, and pushes it out. It drives it out. So these are fundamental key ways of learning how detoxification works. Ultimately, we need to see what we've been doing in our everyday lives. What kind of foods are we eating? What kind of water are we drinking? What are we bathing in? You know, that's one of the main questions that I get all the time, is what kind of water do you drink, Shervin? For me, it's find this local spring water source. That would be ideal. All the waters that you get at gas stations or at grocery stores that are bottled in plastic that says purified on it, those waters are dead water. They're acidic based water. They don't hold an alkalinity that our body requires to be detoxifying 24/7. There's a level of acidosis that's developed. And to go into detoxification, we got to figure out what is the best way to get our pH where it needs to. Now, I know you've heard of this and everybody's heard of this. You want to be on an alkaline diet, right? You want to be eating alkaline foods. Disease cannot grow and flourish in an alkalization body or an alkalized body. It needs to be in an acidic body. That's very true. But how do we truly get alkalized? That's the question. And it's not drinking alkaline water. Alkaline water will not alkalize the interstitial part of your cells where your bones are, the bone marrow is, the cellular tissue. It's going to take deep, deep detoxification and understanding how hydration works. And it's crazy. I was looking at the statistics. They'd say about 95% of the population is completely dehydrated, almost to a negligent amount. And we don't realize that. Why is that?
On the dehydrated on the cellular level, right?
On the cellular
That's
level.
something that we can't really feel or can't identify, because the dehydration, when we feel thirsty and we feel dehydrated, it's usually when we have a dry mouth, right? You feel like, or dry lips. But what are the signs or signals when we are deeply dehydrated on the cellular level?
Well, that's the thing right there. What you just said. If you ever experience dry mouth, that means you're cellularly dehydrated. That it's actually gotten to that point.
Okay, so actually that's the sign of cellular dehydration.
Correct. Absolutely. Yep, that's correct. That's like, that's a, you know, if you have crackly lips, cracky skin, eczema, things like that. Yes, most skin conditions. And just look at it like this. Most of us are dehydrated. We're not actually getting water into the cell. Our cell needs to have a specific amount of hydrogen in the cell. And that an example of what I do every day before I go to sleep every night. And sleep should be really considered in the self-mastery project, because sleep is one of the most overlooked aspects to the health of our life. And we'll go down that rabbit hole. We should probably do a whole live on sleep, because sleep is just as important, if not more important, than nutrition. And I'll explain to that later. I mean, that's where we redevelop, regenerate, build hormones, build neuroprotective agents, basically come back alive, and on a conscious level, go to deep levels of understanding of who we are. So before I go to sleep every night, I get about 20 ounces to 30 ounces of spring water, and I put a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt into my water bottle, and I put it to the side of my bed. Okay, this is very important. What I'm doing is I'm preparing myself as I rise with the sun. Usually over here in California, it's around 6:30 a.m. And before I go vertical, what I mean is before I stand up and get started with my day, I drink the entire amount of spring water with that 1 teaspoon of Celtic sea salt. Now, let me explain to you why I'm doing that so you understand the importance of it. When we wake up on the rise, a couple of things have happened throughout the night. Number one, we've gone through multiple stages of digestion and metabolism and catabolism. Catabolism is the breakdown of the body. And in that process, the liver, the gallbladder, the spleen, the colon, the heart, the lungs, all of the major organs of the body, including the lymphatic system, have been working on overdrive throughout the night. And what happens is that we wake up, and because of all of that on the rise, you know, we were exhausting a lot of those toxins out of the body. The body has to turn your system back on. And in order to turn your system back on, it does a number of things. Number one, it raises a stress hormone in your body called cortisol. Okay, cortisol basically is the fight-flight hormone. It's what we use to turn on the other things like adrenaline and endorphins and things of that nature. And we also has to activate your adrenal system. Why? Because you've been laying horizontal for, let's say, 8-9 hours. All of a sudden, the blood in your body has basically focused in on your inner organs. So the blood has, you know, left your extremities, it's left your feet, it's left your hands. This is how the human body cocoons and how the human body restores. All the blood goes into the major organs because it's functioning. I think we're a carbon-based life form and a beautiful sentient creature. So I like to call it bioactivating, okay? And we are bioactivating our body and pushing things to cellular regeneration at an easier and swifter pace, so we put less stress on the body. The whole point of eating healthy and eating clean and being aware is to remove the burdens that are placed on the body so we live a longer and healthier life. So when we drink that salt water on the rise, brother, what are we doing? Number one, we're creating true alkalization in the body because of the salt chloride. The cell, because there's only so much room in the cell, and the cell prefers the hydrogen from a salt water than a toxin that's been built up and burdening the cell. The cell knows that it wants that, and that's what a negative charge is. That's why we like to ground on the earth. It's the same concept. It just We just push toxins out, and we just told our adrenal system, hey, take a deep breath. I got it today. So now we have that adrenal power for the rest of our rise and the rest of our day. This is fantastic. If you're listening to this right now, you're getting some very, very valuable medicine. And I've been teaching this for the last 10 years. The blue light is not allowing us to sleep. We're eating foods late. We're eating processed foods. We're eating toxic foods. And then we get up at a certain time. We're not connecting to the earth. We're not connecting to our breath. We're kind of unconscious in that whole entire process. It's no wonder we're not getting things done like we want to get things done.
With not the Celtic salt, but with Himalayan sea salt. Is Himalayan sea salt fine, or is any sea salt? What are the salts that people can, if they don't have an access to Celtic salt or anything like that? What are the salts that are that could replace, and as well,
and this and that. That doesn't really work so well. We want things to come naturally and organically. In terms of salt, Celtic sea salt, Celtic sea salt is my favorite. I tend to stay away from Himalayan sea salt for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you know the color of Himalayan sea salt, it's detox. If it's under artificial light, that's how crazy it is. Our human body, like, I want to explain that and not get too fancy. It's just we're a living, breathing ecosystem.
Brother,
Our,
sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah.
for some reason, your picture is blurred.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, so our the human body is a living, breathing ecosystem, and we're completely divinely connected to Mother Nature, you know, and that's why we need to have salts in our body. Why is that? Because the salt allows us to receive negative electrons. Our body's innate ability organic elements of our earth that oscillate a negative ionic electric sphere of influence. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that our entire governance of our body has an electric output. And what they show is that as your body starts to oxidize, your body's we've detached ourselves from Mother Nature, so we're not in the proper cycles. We're not part of the innate season approach because we live in concrete jungles and we're flying all over the world. We haven't adapted properly. Our body's ability to take on all these different things has basically been wiped out. And at the same time, I want everyone to understand. I think if you start really understanding what stagnation means, you can really get to the truth of detoxification. If you put a pool of water together outside and there's no open system that's moving the water, meaning the water is not moving or it's not bubbling like an aquarium that people have in their homes, what happens to that water? Well, it starts to putrefy, right? It starts to get toxins and things start to grow in it. And all of a sudden, the oxygen supply of the water disappears. You basically remove the oxygen molecule. That's what's happening in human bodies. Because we're not moving, we are not properly hydrating, we're not oxygenating properly, we are building up layers of detoxification. So number one, how do we get that? What's the best movement to do? Well, everybody's starting their yoga practice, right? Yoga is opening up channels in your body so you can move electricity and move stagnated energy. When you go into those Vipassana moves or you start folding your body into all these different forms and start moving around, what are you doing? You're basically squeezing your internal organs. Your organs at that point are pushing toxins out of the body through the lymph system that's being moved because you're in proper breath, you're in proper work, and you're also using things that open the lymph system. And remember, the heart has a pump, and that pump is electrical in its process. So the electrical system is moving blood, which is carrying what, brother? It's carrying oxygen, it's carrying food, nutrition, minerals, and it's getting it to all the parts of the body it needs. But the lymph system doesn't have a pump. Lymph fluid needs to be pushed by one thing and one thing only, and that's movement. And one of my favorite movements for that, and everybody should take note on this, is a rebounder. A rebounder is a mini trampoline, okay? Do you know those mini trampolines? I have one in the back here.
Yeah, we got one here.
So the mini trampoline, I remember when you first came to my house in Laguna Beach, you were jumping on my rebounder. I think we have a video of you outside jumping on it. I don't know if you remember.
That was one of the first things I've done at your house. I was like, I need to get on that trampoline. I just
right. Because it's so much fun and there's no impact on your joints and on your back. And I highly advise everybody to get a rebounder. It's one of my favorite things to do. The rebounder creates a slight G-force in the human body because the weight of the body is going down, and before you know it, the body's going up. That G-force opens up the lymphatic system and pretty much by a centimeter or two, and that opens channels in the entire body. And it's similar with like inversions. So we now know that inverting the body is really good for the body. It's good for the mitochondria. It's good for ATP production, adenosine triphosphate. It's good for channeling energy out of the body and getting toxins out of the body. So what do I mean by inverting? I mean making sure your feet is above your heart. That's the whole philosophy. And you can invert many different ways. Yoga swings, inversion tables, even laying on your couch and putting your feet up. Inverting is very, very important form of detoxification. On top of your body's ability to be pushing things through and not becoming stagnant. Stagnation.
Sorry to interrupt. One thing that I found also as a good substitute for trampoline or rebounder is the skipping rope.
Oh yeah, very good.
I found the skipping rope very, very good. So just a few minutes of skipping a day can make a significant difference, and I think it can probably cause the same effect, doesn't it, as a
body, and it's also good for your brain. There's studies on how jumping rope gets you into a cadence that pairs your left brain and your right brain together, and when those two things pair together, all of a sudden you get a flux of endorphins and you're removing toxins out of the brain. We have a lymph system in our brain called the glymphatic system, and when you're jumping like that on a jump you feel great. And, you know, I'm sure with your practicing and stuff, you're doing high intensity interval training, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You're not doing long distance miles. No, you're building fast twitch muscle fiber. How good
Exactly.
do you feel after a session?
So good. But when it comes to like things that can be done at home, this is something that is very important that you were referring to. You know, the rebounder, the trampoline, the skipping rope,
Yeah.
yoga practice, right? I mean, obviously there's a lot of videos
There's
right
so many things. Yeah.
these days with
Yeah.
people working. Or if it's good, maybe not first thing in the morning. When is it good to drink it?
Okay. First of all, amazing questions. And I like your perspective. Um, I have an interesting perspective on coffee. Coffee is proved to be healthy in many ways. You know, it's got a lot of minerals, it's got a lot of polyphenols, it's, you know, it's liver protectant, it's colon protectant, all of those things. At the state, even me, every day when I rise, my body's acidic. That's just how it happens overnight. And if I pour in 12 ounces of coffee, I'm throwing acid on top of acid. What am I doing by that? I'm destroying so many healthy gut bacteria. I'm causing acid in my brain. I'm getting taxed by the caffeine. I'm putting my heart into a little bit of an uncomfortable state, all of those things. But people on here, there's probably, you know, millions and millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions, billions of people that are doing that every single day and don't realize the pitfalls and the exhaustion they're creating in their body and the havoc. And one of the main havocs they're creating is adrenal fatigue. And there's a reason why they're having adrenal issues and why that leads into autoimmune disorders and other things like that. So if you're going to do coffee, my suggestion is that you really have an intention behind it, meaning you're aware of it, it's become a ritual, and you're really understanding how to do it properly. So hydrate the first way before anything. So it's the salt water, it's the minerals, things like that. And then don't just have regular coffee. Source the best coffee on earth. You know, if you can get biodynamic coffee, you can find them online. Please go with some form of biodynamic coffee, which means it's grown using those practices and intentions. So the energy of the coffee is already holding that and embodying it. Make your own coffee, grind it up, and use adaptogenic herbs and certain fats with the coffee. Now, I know that you're on Golden Mind. Golden Mind was made almost specifically for coffee drinkers. Golden Mind is basically a nutrient dense, mycelated, which is a liposomal technology, adaptogenic herbal complex. I've got lion's mane in there, reishi, you know, gotu kola, ginseng, minerals, all these things. You want to use an adaptogenic source while drinking coffee. And the one that we made is a Thai chai vanilla spice. So it goes directly with matchas and coffees and things like that. I prefer matcha over coffee, by the way, and we're working on sourcing the purest in the world from Japan. I'm on that right now with my team. But back to coffee, you need it to have, so you need to be hydrated, you need to be alkalized beforehand, you need to have a relationship with the coffee, you need to have an intention, and there has to be a reason why you're drinking it. Don't just drink things or eat things or do things with no intention. I think you and I talked about that on our first conversation, is how you do anything is how you do everything. It's so important. When people go into the jungles to do, prayers and medicine with the shamans, there's an intention there. We need to do the same thing with our everyday, with our food, with our detoxification practices, with what we put in our body.
Living more aware of yourself, living more conscious.
Be more conscious.
Of your every step of the day, everything you think about, everything you do, all the relationships, everything that you consume through water, through food. And you're right, because nowadays, especially in my world, again, I can only speak about my world with some knowledge, is that I notice is the athletes, because of the fast metabolism, and because of the excess amount of energy, and because of the stress and pressures that they feel being in that environment or performing in few hours, they literally just swallow the food. There's no chewing involved. So I do that too, at times, and I do it unconsciously. And when I do it unconsciously, I'm really grateful when I am conscious of doing that post eating it or during eating it, or even if it's after first bite, because I realized that I'm not respecting that ritual. That is a ritual of eating food, of really being thankful that I have ability to eat the food that is on the plate in front of me, and that I'm actually asking for a blessing, and then I'm asking from all that nutrients to come in, and kind of by asking, by being grateful, I open up more to those nutrients, And this is something that is not, I guess, linked to any form of official way of presenting nutrition and how you should eat and how you should drink. It's the connection that you're talking about, the innate connection, and really being present and being conscious of the moment and being conscious of the fact that you're drinking water. And I've seen people, and I know some people that through that energetical transformation, through the power of prayer, through the power of gratitude, they manage to turn the most toxic food, or maybe most polluted water, into the most healing water, because water reacts. And
water's alive.
Scientists have proven that obviously in the experiment, that molecules of the water react to our emotions, to what is being said. So I truly believe that we should continuously, every single day, remind ourselves when we sit, that we sit without cameras, without phones, and without watching things and stuff, or even worse, having a nervous discussions and conflictual discussions on the table with your close ones during your meal. I remember my grandfather, who passed away 8 years ago, and I was very, very close to him. He was always very quiet when he was eating, and I could never understand, because when I was a kid, you don't want to jump around. You don't want to stay seated and focus on the food. You want to eat food. You want to throw food and stuff. It's normal. You're a kid. But he was always saying, when you eat, you don't speak. We bless the food. We say prayer. We respect that we're seated on this table. We have food in front of us. We should always respect it. we eat the food in silence, and then after we finish, we can start to talk, whatever. And so I come from there, but I didn't know what that truly means, and it has such a profound meaning, and on the chemical level as well, it affects the whole process of digestion, of enzymes, of being focused on what you eat and chewing it and preparing the laboratory for digesting the food. So I just wanted to reflect on that, because I thought that also sometimes I have and as you know, we talk about it, I have digestive issues when the stress kicks in during the tournament, and my stomach kind of starts reacting, and even the food that kind of is simple, is plain, that it's like more of the mono diets, that I keep it simple before my matches and not to eat too much. I still feel, you know, that there is this bowel movement, and there's this, you know, things that are happening, that is indigestion, and so that tells me that there is this emotional aspect to things.
This live is going to end. Please, I think you should. Okay, so when it ends,
no, it's actually extended. We can go.
You extended it?
So it's not an hour limit, so it's fine.
Okay, keep going, please.
We're good.
Because everything you're saying.
So I was saying that, you know, when I experienced this indigestion, you know, before I was always thinking it's because of the food, right? It's because what I eat, and it's because what I drink. I haven't done something right when I rise from my bed. And then I was just trying to decode and really understand and find where is the trick, you know. And then I realized that, you know, emotional state in which I'm in, being stressed, being, you know, under pressure of needing to perform well, of already projecting my thoughts and visualizing what needs to be done on the court, and then all these things mix up, and then I find it the hardest for me to kind of switch off, you know, when I eat on the days, on the pre-match, on the day of the match, and so I'm really trying to train myself to be conscious and to really switch off the TV, not watching any matches, or not, you know, everything is not as important as my meal and me being present with it, and embracing it, respecting it, and merging it, and getting all the nutrients that my body needs. So, you know, there's different elements to just food itself as a chemical composition, right? There's the emotional state, the respect to food, the ritual of being aware, being conscious, not exposing yourself to the blue light or things, and not having fights on the family table during meals. So all these things are important in order to properly, I guess, detoxify yourself, but also allow your body to have a proper metabolic functions.
I mean, amen. Aho to all of that. You got it. The human body, we're not a robot. We're not a machine. We don't just sit there and break something down, this and onto the next thing. We're a biological being with so many biochemicals and emotions and stress hormones and factors that are happening and swirling around us 24/7. If you're in a state of frustration, fear, or stress, you are not properly going to incorporate that food. You're not going to break the food down, digest the food, assimilate the food, and then remove the toxins from the body properly. Everyone's eating unconsciously. Forget about the quality of the food, just the attitude and the emotions around the food. And what you said about water, what you said about molecular structure, you know, Matsuro Emoto, you know, he was the Japanese scientist who studied water. And they saw, you know, if you had specific thoughts, specific emotions onto the water, if they were happy thoughts, if they were good thoughts, they created a molecular structure that had a geoprism based on sacred geometry, meaning there was symmetry and balance and structure. And on the opposite end, when you gave water pain, fear, frustration, anger, that water would break apart. And our body is made of water. I hear when we say we're 76% water, 79% water, that's not a big jar of water sitting in our gut. No, it's water dispersed in every cell of our being, in our brain, in our bone, in our tissues. And that water carries a message and an energy. It's so, so important. And I think that's a good segue into fasting and our relationship to the way we approach the frequency of eating. And as you know, fasting is a huge ritual for my life and the way that I approach eating. I don't sit there and graze on food at 7 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., 8 p.m., midnight. I'm not eating meals constantly. I basically have my meals set up, my main meals set up based on my workout for the day and before, right as the sun sets. And what I'm doing is I'm shutting down the metabolic process that needs to be happening 24/7. We're not designed to be grazing, every single second. That's important. That's a concept of nutrition and detoxification. I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole, but I can break down fasting and the importance of fasting and why all religions use fasting as their main time to go into higher levels of consciousness. None of this is, random. None of this is coincidence. We now know that the human body comes with a certain finite amount of cellular reproduction and cellular mitosis. What does that mean? That means our cells can only recreate so many times in our life. And if you're sitting there eating food, 7 times a day, just the thought, and you mentioned this perfectly, you said it so eloquently, that it's not just the breakdown of the food and the chemicals of the food and the proteins and the lipids and the carbohydrates. It's the entire involvement of the human body and our interaction with the food. If you smell food, your liver starts to create enzymes and your body starts to create hydrochloric acid. If you even think of food, like I can think of a lemon right now and my salivary glands will start coming out because we are a biological being. We're not, systems don't just turn on, they're integrated in every emotion and every thought. And so can you imagine someone who's eating 7 meals a day, big, large meals a day for 50 years versus someone that's mineralizing most of the day, drinking herbs, and then having 1 or 2 meals per day? How much involvement occurs during the digestion and the assimilation and removal process of the human body? It's unbelievable. Trillions and trillions of cells have to be activated just to eat food. And it doesn't matter if it's a hamburger from a fast food place or an apple from, Kauai. Food is food. Obviously, we'll choose the apple over that hamburger. But my point is that the body's biological function has to have a resting phase. That's why I'm a big advocate of intermittent fasting and allowing your body to have a time to repair. If you are in a state of digestion constantly, you can't go to a place of repair. And that's called autophagy. Autophagy is digesting and attacking and basically assimilating things in your body that do not belong there. And so we want to have places for our body to be in that recovery mode. It's so important. It's so critical. This is one of the key cornerstones of nutrition, detoxification, and longevity, is the resting phase of a fasted state body. And in that fasted state, we're hydrating the body, we're neutralizing free radicals, we're getting into the sunshine, we're getting into the earth. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. And there's veganism, there's vegetarianism, there's paleo, there's carnivore, there's all these different things. We also know there's breatharianism, people that are basically just living off sunshine, grounding to the earth, and their breath. And so how are they doing that? My cousin has a friend that's been doing this for 12, 13 years. We would think in modern science, that's crazy. You need to eat. You need to eat. You need food. You need food. That's not the case. We know that. Am I advocating that? No, I'm not. But what I'm saying is that our bodies need a period of rest. We cannot be grazing on food 24/7 at all. It causes discommunication and it builds up toxins in the body. And I think we should probably do another live specifically on how to fast and the proper methodology on that.
I mean, there's so many different wonderful topics to talk about, and
So many.
I think we are. Let's see what people's reactions are. I mean, I'm gonna turn on the commenting because I'd like to know as well from you guys whether as well you think that this is the route we should choose for our next lives. Is this the direction that you're liking for in terms of discussions on health? Because I find this live extremely powerful and profound for me personally as well. I've learned a lot, even though I've known you and we talked about this, but you know, you can always, every time I listen to you speak, I can always write something down and learn something new. So
Ditto.
most of the people here actually like what they've heard. So I think, you know, Shervin and I are going to discuss what the topic is for our next live. But I think there's sleep, there is fasting. You know, we can go to nutrition and all the nutritive
Vitamins,
you know, vitamins and substances,
herbs,
minerals, proteins, carbs. You know, there's so many things that we can talk about. So we got definitely next few lives maybe we can dedicate to that. But let's see some of the questions, brother, if you don't mind.
I also want to do one on oral health. One on oral health, which is really overlooked in the modern world. The mouth is one of the most important aspects to heart health and environmental health. We have to talk about oral health as a main one as well.
So there's a question from profile named Krish Javeri. The question is, what is your take on drinking apple cider vinegar every morning?
Yeah, I think it's too acidic to have it every rise, but I'm not against doing it every 3 days. And sometimes you want to mix it with honey. Honey is a good balancer for apple cider vinegar. I'm not a fan of it every single day.
Okay.
And make sure it has the mother in it. So the mother is basically the condensed nutrient dense part of the apple cider vinegar.
Let me just see. There's a profile named Gurper Singh, and he's asking, can we use iodine salt in the water for detoxification?
No, you want nothing to do with iodized salts. Anyone who's using iodized salt, you have to get that out of your life. And when you go to restaurants, you got to ask them what kind of salt are they using in the food. That's super important. Another thing is you don't want to drink water from restaurants. You don't know where that water is coming from. You don't want to use ice at restaurants. That's just coming from their backwater system. So no iodized salt at all.
Smith's 24, she's asking, is ginger water good for detoxification?
Yeah, ginger water is good. It's not so much a detoxifier, it's good for digestion. Ginger stimulates hormones in the body, it stimulates hydrochloric acid, it stimulates your body's ability to break down other things. I wouldn't call it a detoxifier, I'd call it more of a digestive empowerment. By the way, it's 11:11 over here, everybody. 11:11. Boom.
Powerful.
Yeah, I like these questions.
Yes, we got. Let's go into a few more. Let me see. Okay, you've answered this.
And activated charcoal. Activated charcoal is another one that we haven't talked about. Yeah. I should have brought that up, but we'll talk about that later.
What about turmeric? Turmeric drink.
Yeah, again, curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric. The issue with turmeric is our body has a very limited capacity to absorb it. That's why you need to be doing certain things to really get it in. But overall, eating turmeric and having it in your diet is very good for inflammatory issues. It's not so much a detoxifier. It's an anti-inflammatory medicine, in my opinion. But it's great.
Wonderful. Andy Rao 902 is asking, can Ayurvedic practice help with detoxifying?
Yeah, absolutely. Ayurvedic is the methodology of everything that I do. I mean, Symbiotica is founded on the practices of Ayurveda and traditional Chinese herbal medicine. That is one of the center points of my philosophy is Ayurveda and understanding how the systems in the bodies work. Ayurveda is the study of the holistic approach of every organ and every thought and every emotion and connecting it to our biology, which is the herbal world.
Elena, fan of Nole, profile is asking, thank you, Elena, big hug to you. What about the spoon of coconut oil first thing in the morning?
Not to digest, but to do oil pulling in your mouth.
Okay, oil
Yeah.
pulling.
Yeah. You don't want to introduce medium chain fatty triglycerides into your body
First
upon
thing,
riding.
yeah.
Have it later, but not on the rise. Use the coconut oil to swish around in your mouth. It's a good way of detoxifying your mouth.
What about tea in the morning? Shoria said he's asking.
What kind of tea? That's such a big question. Yeah, I mean, I love tea. I love tea. I do decaffeinated teas that don't have caffeine. Not decaffeinated, that's the wrong word. You never want to take something that's been decaffeinated. If it's been decaffeinated, it's been denatured. You don't want that. Okay, so let me make that clear. Don't take things that are called decaffeinated, but have herbs that don't have caffeine in it. Does that make sense?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Chris is asking, is there a sodium problem if we consume salt every day?
Not if it's in the right form and at the right time and the right amount. Sodium issues are coming from iodized salt and the body's ability to not properly hydrate. And not only that, all the food that's out there is laden in chemical salts, which is sodium. We don't want that. Sodium is one of the most important minerals for the human body, but we're not getting the proper balance of potassium and other balancers of minerals. So we're getting too much sodium from the meals that we're eating and the stuff that we're eating in restaurants. The amount of sodium in sauces, all the sauces that we're eating, start looking at the ingredients. And Novak, you see me going into grocery stores. I'm always looking at the ingredients of all the products.
Yes.
We got to make sure we're looking at the ingredient list. If the salt in the product is not sea salt, stay away from it. If you see something called calcium carbonate, stay away from it. Anything that has an 8 in it, that's a man-made compound, a synthetic compound. We don't want that in our body. Just like we don't want fluoride in our toothpaste, which is another important thing in terms of detoxification.
All right, so last two questions. The film 141 is asking, what do you think about sun gazing?
I do it every single day, but I'm very careful on how I sun gaze. I make sure that the sun is at least 45 degrees in the sky, which means over here in California, sometime after 6 p.m. You want to rise with the sun, and then you want to let it set with you, and you look at it. You don't want to be under the sun for more than 30, 40 minutes in between that time without any type of hat or anything like that. Okay. Sun gazing is the most powerful form of charging your entire body up. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. And the last question, let's take the last question.
Also a shower filter. If you're listening to this right now, invest in getting a shower filter. If you're bathing in typical municipal water, you can be doing all the detox protocols in the world, but you're absorbing all of the all the biochemicals, all the toxins, all of those things. Not only are you absorbing it in your skin, but you're also breathing it in from the vapors. If you shower in hot water, you have to get a shower filter to block a lot of the carcinogens and the fluoride and the chlorine and all those things.
Wonderful. Last question is about the garlic and onion.
Yeah.
How do you use garlic and onion?
Only as a medicine. Okay, I do not eat garlic and onion every single day. That's exactly the opposite of an Ayurvedic mentality. Ayurvedics forbid you from doing garlic and onion for a number of reasons. It's an excitable medicine, meaning it causes the body to stir up things, And you can't be doing that every day. Plus, it's very aggravating to your stomach lining. So garlic and onion are powerful. It's like nature's vaccine. It's like a penicillin. It's a form of medicine. It's antimicrobial, antibacteria, things like that. So if you have an infection in your body or you're dealing with anything like that, then it's a good time to do raw or slightly cooked garlic or a little bit raw garlic or onion as well, but not every day.
So what I agree with you, and that's how I use the garlic as well. When I actually feel some digestive issues or my stomach acting a little bit weird, I take a little piece of garlic and I put it in the honey, in the half spoon of honey, and I just swallow it directly without chewing it. Yeah. And I feel like this is one of the most simple, but just like one of the most powerful remedies for stomach health that I know of, actually. Yeah.
No, that's great. And because you're combining it with the honey, it becomes antiseptic. And so it's basically like you basically neutralize it into a medicine. It's a great combination. But you don't want to do that every day. That's something that's like once every 10 days or something. And that reminds me, another topic is the microbiome and the gut-brain axis. Okay, so we have fasting.
We have a lot of, like, there's a lot.
This is it. This is the holy grail of becoming the self-mastery project. This is it. This is the gold.
Guys, thank you so much, Shervin. Love you, brother. Thank you for spending your time again and
I love you, man.
And energy. We went deep into detoxification. Obviously, I know there's so many questions that people asked about, you know, the amount of protein, what kind of protein.
We'll get into that.
The amount of calories and stuff. So we'll go deep into that in one of our next episodes for sure. But for now, thank you so much, brother. Big love to Jamie and everyone in California. And stay strong. We love you and speak to you soon.
It's an honor. It's an honor, everybody. I just want to say one last thing. We are just the messenger. This is our perspective. This comes from over 20 years of trained, understanding of how the human body works, working with tons of mentors, working and studying with shamans across the world, scientists, doctors. Please take what we're talking about with a grain of salt, literally, and go and do your own research. If it resonates with you, you love what we do, what we're talking about, I hope this is the best life of all time for you. That's our entire intention. And that's the love that we're putting out there. And I can't wait to get on the next one with you. You and I have been doing self-mastery projects with our own friends and our own people. And this is fantastic. I'm glad we're right at the center of it. This was our best one yet so far.
For sure. Gets better and better.
Love you, brother. Okay, it's an honor, family.
Thank you.